Hello, my black people. I come on here in order to put some on you guys' mind. I know a lot of you guys know this already, but this is for the people that don't know it, and it's also for the people that know it. That way you can keep it front and center in your brain. Now, what I have here is I pulled up about white uh, dominance here in the United States. Okay, so it says the predominance of white people in position of power, wealth, and influence in the United States can be attributed to a complex mix of historical, systematic, and social factors. Here are some key reasons. Colonial roots. The United States was colonized and established by Europeans, primarily white settlers, who created the nation's foundation, institutions, laws, and economic systems. These systems were designed to benefit white people and their descendants. Slavery and discrimination for centuries, the enslavement of African people, and the systemic exclusion of non white populations from economic and political opportunities entrenched a racial hierarchy. Land ownership. White settlers were given access to land and resources through policies like the Homestead Act, while indigenous people were forcibly removed and the African Americans were excluded through practi- practices like sharecropping and redlining. Systemic racism, economic systems, discriminatory practices such as redlining, employment discrimination, and unequal education funding have historically limited access to wealth building opportunities for non white communities. Legal framework, laws, and policies, including Jim Crow laws and segregation, ensure that power and resources remain concentrated among white people for much of the U.S. history, which is going on right today. And that is where they trying to take us back. Social networks. Power is often transferred within networks of privilege. White communities having historically held more wealth and influence are better positioned to maintain their dominance. Cultural narratives and stereotypes. The idea of white supremacy was historically used to justify slavery, colonization, and segregation. These ideas have been embedded in social institutions and cultural norms, influencing who is seen as fit for leadership or deserving of wealth. Wealth disparities, generational wealth. White families are more likely to inherit wealth and assets due to centuries of exclusionary practices. This creates a cycle where wealth and opportunities are passed down, leaving other groups at a disadvantage, which are us, black people. Home ownership, discriminatory lending practices, housing segregation also allow white families to accumulate wealth through property ownership, while others were denied the same opportunities. Education and employment. Historically, access to qualified education and prestigious universities was limited to white people. Even today, disparities in education funding and systematic biases in hiring contribute to unequal representation in leadership roles, representation in politics and media. TikTok, historically, political and media institutions have been dominated by white leaders. This has allowed narratives, policies, and cultural representation to reinforce their power. Moving on to intersection with capitalism. The capitalist system in the U.S. has favored those who were already in power when the economy was being shaped. Since white individuals and institutions control most of the early industries, they continue to dominate wealth and power today. Progress and ongoing challenges. While strides have been made in addressing racial inequalities, such as civil rights movements and anti discrimination laws, structural racism and historical disparities mean that the effects of past injustices still persist today. Efforts to dismantle systemic racism and re- redistribute power require continued advocacy, policy reform, and social change. That'll be the day. But we're gonna have to, black folks, we're gonna have to take our power. We're gonna have to take and control our own wealth. We're gonna have to control our own media. We're gonna have to control our own education. We got to build our own employment. And as far as uh, redlining and uh, discrimination, funding for wealth building and stuff like that, what they give to the non-whites, we're going to have to make sure that we stay on top of that so they won't be dissing out those opportunities to them all the time and leaving us behind. And I wanted to come on here because to give you guys a reminder of this, because this is one of the reasons why that they want to get rid of TikTok, because they cannot control the narrative and they cannot control the media. And also, they do not want us to be able to come together as a whole against these crooked ass politicians getting bought and paid for and ain't doing a damn thing for the American people. The only people that they are worried about are billionaires and people that have way more money than billionaires, because they damn sure ain't worried about us. I mean, they got our groceries high. The gas gonna go back up pretty soon. I already know it's going up. The cost of living in general across the board is just expensive as hell. All our bills is going up. I was reading earlier today where housing then hit 7.11%, and that is ridiculous. And I noticed that they coming on here with a lot of these videos with these tiny homes and different stuff like that, but they cost just as much as a full house, and they all HOA. So you still gonna be paying out the ass due to that fact. And you ain't gonna be able to have nothing in your yard. You can't paint your house. You can't put a board nowhere. But they can trump up charges or whatever on you and make you have to pay for stuff